It's back and bigger than ever. It's the unofficial 40 from SoonerScoop.com. Now, here's the entire SoonerScoop crew. Carrie, Josh, Eddie, and Bob.
All right, welcome back. It is another edition of the Unofficial 40 podcast brought to you by Midfirst Bank. Go to midfirst.com/U40. That's midfirst.com/U40 and sign up for the OU Rewards credit card. Well, happy to be back in the saddle, even though last week's podcast kind of got outdated pretty quick with all the coaching news that was going on. Ruffin McNeil, the very next day, decides that he's going to go home and take care of his ailing father, who's 85 years old. And so he will no longer be with the program. Was announced as a temporary leave, but Lincoln Riley's got to hire somebody, so I don't see him. Don't panic. I don't see him coming back to Oklahoma. For those of you that would like to have seen them move on, they named Demarco Murray as their running backs coach, which happened over the weekend, happened rather quickly, and that was a lot of jostling around. You know, the Kobe Bryant stuff happened over the weekend. There was some board meltdown stuff to deal with that we were probably part of the cause of. So anyway, welcome back to the entire crew. Josh McCuistion is still alive, posting really cute girl pictures.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you know, the girls and I at Lowe's for everybody's viewing pleasure.
Well, can I just ask, like, what was the purpose of that? Because two by fours, what are you going to do with that? Is that a fence thing? Is that a...
No, I built them a couple of step stools for their bathroom.
That's kind of impressive.
We had bought, like, we had a couple of them. They were kind of plastic and cheap, and then Tiffany had seen one at Hobby Lobby, and I was like, I could build that thing. And I kind of dug myself a hole, and then I was like, well, let me look it up. And so I looked up, and it really wasn't bad. It was just, it took a while because it was over Christmas break, and so I kept, like, traveling and leaving, and so it took me a while to actually finish it. But I mean, they're nice. They're, you know, we painted, Lainey wanted hers pink and Layla wanted hers like a turquoise. So they're turquoise and pink. So
that's very respectable. You know who else was a carpenter? That's right, Jesus Christ.
That is Eddie Radosevich, who is here for comic relief and to piss people off, one or the other. Usually one or the other.
Yeah, there's no in-between, is there?
There really isn't.
I want to find an in-between. I want to find something in the middle. A common ground, yeah.
With the folk out there. Bob Prisbillo joins us. He has been continuing his series on the freshmen, which has been very good to read on the website. So, Bob doing work. Appreciate that.
Marcus Major today.
Indeed. Well, Marcus Alexander later in the week. It's the Marcus week.
Which, look, let's start off with the coaching moves, obviously. DeMarco Murray coming in. Josh, I know you writing about, what his role is going to be with Oklahoma as a recruiter, or not. We know what his role is going to be. He's going to be asked to recruit the very best running backs in the country. The question being, shut up, phone. The question being,
it startles me when somebody has a house phone still to this day.
Stop it!
You want me to put him on air? I can do that.
I mean, that's olds.
It's not olds. It's a landline. We have a studio. We sometimes need to call people.
We need an office phone in here.
No, that's not happening.
Well, you have one. That's what I'm saying. I'm trying to help
cheap
you.
Cheap AT&T piece of crap that.
That's where the voicemails can go.
Yes.
Hit us up. What do you think?
Do not give out that number.
You had some good ones in there, didn't you?
Yeah, but it just kind of it turned sour.
Was that from last year though?
Like 2 years ago, maybe.
Yeah,
I was gonna say it's been a while.
That before Bob.
Pre-Bob.
Yep.
Wow. Yeah, that was almost 3 years ago then.
But DeMarco Murray, I think the question is, will he be able to recruit at the level he's going to be expected to recruit at Oklahoma? That's the biggest question, I guess, on everybody's mind, isn't it, Josh?
It is. I mean, because to me, we've talked about this a lot through the years of the pod, guys. I don't think there's any position on the football field, and I think you all would probably agree, that is just God-given talent more than running back. Like, I'm not saying there aren't things you can refine and get better, but the guys that are great in high school are usually the same guys that are great in the NFL. Like, there's a lot of carryover there where there might not be at some other positions. There's development and things that can happen. At running back, go get the elite guys. expecting yourself to win a lot of turn a 3-star into the first-round draft pick, that doesn't happen a lot. So Murray has got to get into these rooms, and when into these living rooms and talk with these parents and really develop relationships. And to me, that's the question mark. DeMarco Murray and his name, I mean, there's been plenty of kids. Evan Pryor's talked about it. I've talked to L.J. Johnson about it. He went and saw Kamar Wheaton. I know Trevion Henderson's really excited about it. I've talked to all of their kind of primary targets in the 2021 class, and they're all very interested in Oklahoma. And I'm not saying that they wouldn't have been in Jay Boulware, but Murray gives a little extra punch. But what we're going to have to find out is, that's great to get in the room. Can you close them when you're there? And that's what we'll have to see. And it's not a shot at DeMarco. We just don't know yet. He hasn't had to recruit at this level, and we will see how he is, when he's facing all these other elite recruiters.
I think it's interesting that this is the first time, and it might be since I've been covering OU, and certainly here in the last couple of years that, and Bob and I talked about this morning, this is the first time that Oklahoma's bringing in I guess in a way, a quasi-celebrity. I mean, the guy comes in, he already has 400,000 more followers on Twitter than Lincoln Riley has. And I know that doesn't mean a whole lot in the grand scheme of things, but I think it's going to be interesting to see them. This is the first time they've kind of stepped out of a comfort zone, I feel like, to make a hire like this. And somebody that is, I guess, quote-unquote, unproven a little bit as a coach.
Let's just say what it is. This is a man who has by far banged hotter chicks than anyone else on this staff.
Oh, I would say that, yeah. I would say that
on the
sure.
SoonerScoop staff?
Well,
Any
that's
staff.
debatable. The coaching staff for sure,
Coach,
though.
you're listening, baby.
That's not debatable.
I mean,
he's a rock
never
star.
No, he is.
Look, okay, the spray tan stuff, like that's the obvious joke. Like, don't go for the obvious joke. I mean, that's what people do. I understand that. But, how many freaking spray tan jokes were there when he got, yeah, we get it. The spray tan, we all remember that. That was, that was funny. Like,
it was a funny story.
Come with another, he's banged, soap opera stars. And, he's done he's a good-looking man. I mean, when DeMarco Murray was still in broadcasting, he shamed everyone else with his suits. His suits were so much better looking than everyone. They were perfectly cut.
DeMarco's always kind of been like that, though.
Yeah.
He's always been very well dressed, very well groomed.
He's got swag.
Yeah, for sure. It's gonna be fun. I think it's gonna be really interesting, and to see what he can do inside of a not just the running back room, but to see what he is as a recruiter. Because I will say that he was a not strange. I don't think kind of a weird guy. I think is how I knew him in college. Mm-hmm. That's not a bad thing. I'm very weird. I'm very weird.
Yeah.
But I would say that I think he will prove to be a pretty good recruiter once he gets his feet underneath him. I think he has a lot to offer as far as relatable, certainly, and just being able to be a guy that can kind of sell himself in the university. And I'll add this too, that I'm pretty sure the last time I saw him, I tried to give him an edible on a gondola.
Don't say this.
Up to Aspen. So yeah,
Sam's wedding.
It'll be good to see DeMarco again.
So you were infiltrating Sam's wedding with edibles.
Reminisce.
Well, you were in Colorado.
It was legal.
It's
all legal, and it's called medication.
No, DeMarco was always you could tell he was a guy that just had a different sense of humor than most people. What he thought was funny. He was very measured in kind of how he answered questions, and I thought he wasn't like an open book. When you covered him, but he wasn't guarded that much. He just, the one story I remember about DeMarco Murray when he was playing was it was after the 2007 season, his fall camp going into 2008. Sam Bradford going into his sophomore year, going to win a Heisman Trophy that year. Kevin Wilson, the offensive coordinator, they were going to change the offense to the no huddle. They did not, Kevin Wilson would deny that they were changing exclusively to no huddle. Sam Bradford was coached up. He would come in. He would say, well, we do it a little bit, but you guys are overblowing it. It's not that much. DeMarco Murray comes into the interview room one day. He sits down. He's like, oh, yeah, we just run the no huddle. That's our offense now, just the no huddle. That's all we do. He didn't give an F. He didn't care. And I loved him for it. I was like, see, now we don't have to dance around all this stuff about if they're going no huddle or not. And then they went out and set the NCAA record for points scored in a season.
Is it 5 straight over 60?
Yeah, is that
5 or
crazy?
That's 5.
5?
That OSU game, I think they got to 60, like broke it.
OSU and Missouri, they got 60 pretty late, but yeah, they did it.
That's because they had a Panther running things.
But I mean, the thing that I found interesting talking to Kevin Sumlin was just his high praise for him as a football mind, and that he was not just your average coach, and that he was, a guy that he could see in the NFL someday because of what he knows about offense and how he thinks about offensive football.
You wrote that article on what was that, Monday night, Gary? Sunday night going into Monday,
or Monday morning. It was for Monday morning.
When I read that on Monday morning, the first thing I thought of was Mike Vrabel. He went that route as far as he went to Ohio State, got his feet underneath him as a assistant coach, and then made his move into the NFL. And I mean, if in 5 years, if Demarco Murray's coaching in the NFL, I would think that is extremely good news for Oklahoma, because that means that he was very successful at Oklahoma.
When you think about it, if you're an offensive coach, Bob, what better person to be under right now than Lincoln Riley? And this is something else I was thinking about too today, is like Lincoln Riley comes from the Mike Leach tree, which produced, I mean, just go down the list of the people that are in college football that Mike Leach had on his staff. I mean, Dana Holgerson. I mean, you guys start throwing out people all you want left and right. I mean, think of the coordinators out there right now. Sonny Cumbie that's at TCU, Graham Harrell. I mean, offensive guys, there's tons of them that I'm leaving out here. Bill Bedenbaugh.
Well, I mean,
Lincoln Riley. I mean,
would the Bryles tree be considered part of that?
Yeah, because I mean, he took them out of high school, and
yeah, I mean, say whatever you will
college.
about those guys, they can coach. I mean, I didn't mean to sully their name, but I mean, like, just those guys are good offensive minds. So,
but like, I wonder, like, is it Lincoln Riley? Is it his grand plan, Bob? I'll try and throw this back to you. You think that there's a little bit of him that says, I would like to have my own coaching tree? Like at Texas Tech, we didn't always bring in some huge big name. Like, I want to do this my way. I want to start my own tree. I'm not looking to bring in the biggest possible names. I will help develop these guys into big time coaches.
I think there's something to that, because what we've talked about is that with these openings, we're like, where do we look? Because there wasn't an established, okay, this is where Lincoln looks. This is the guys that he's had before, so we should try to go through those sources and see what's up. So with Murray, it's something fresh, it's something new, and it's one of the first times where you feel like, I don't know if risky is the right word, but if this doesn't work, this will be the first time where it's like, whoops, that was the wrong move. Because of the fact you deviated from what we've seen before, like with defense, they went with Mike Leach's guy because they went with Grinch. Like, they still went with what they knew. This would be the first time if it didn't work. So, see, this is what happens when you try to branch out.
What would constitute being able to say this didn't work?
If they
what is the bar? What do you think the bar would be?
I know it's his first year, but there are 4 running backs in the top 100. If you can't get 2 of them, because you need 2 of them, you're going to lose Stevenson. You're going to lose Sermon. You're probably going to lose Brooks. He's going to be a redshirt junior. He could come back.
I thought he was leaving this year.
Exactly. We thought he was coming back. So you're going to be losing 2 to 3 running backs for sure. That's without the portal. So he needs to hit, even though it's his first year. And frankly, you can see how much he's catching up when his first follow as OU running backs coach is Evan Pryor. That's how much he's trying to catch up with some of these kids, but he has to land them. There's too many good ones out there to not be able to get at least 1 or 2, preferably. You got to get at least 2 to get that cupboard back. Because, I mean, when you look at running back here lately, they haven't had a top 50 guy since Mixon. He was number 8, and he was a 5-star. They haven't had a top 100 guy since Pledger, and you wonder, is Pledger being used right, at OU? Was that a Boulware thing? Was that a Riley thing? Is Pledger better than what he has shown through the first 2 years? I mean, it's not like they've been bad. Kennedy Brooks, Trey Sermon, Adams, Major. But it's always felt like, oh, they had to get that guy because Plan A didn't work out. You need to start getting those Plan A guys to work out once again. And even though it's a lot to ask for in your first year, there's so much talent in 2021 that Murray could do just that.
Well, and I'm sure if there was any kind of hesitation on Lincoln Riley's part, he was like, I got his running backs coach. When he was here, his running backs coach is on staff. Like, and he's known as a great. If he needs anyone to talk to, like, is there anybody better to have on your staff than Cale Gundy for a guy that's just getting his feet wet?
Yeah, the guy that literally recruited him to Oklahoma, right? I mean, and coached him at Oklahoma.
And Adrian Peterson and Joe Mixon and everybody else.
Pretty much every great back OU's had in the last 20 years.
I'm excited to just kind of hear what kind of coach Demarco is. Because he's not overly a talkative person.
No,
I think
he never was.
Going back to what I said earlier, is like, I said weird. I would say just quiet maybe would be the better way to say it.
He was, I don't know, introvert is the right word, but
yeah.
he was to himself.
Sure.
I never knew he wanted to get into coaching.
That surprised me. Like, I was surprised that he had a broadcasting future. I mean, he was on that team. There was nobody else that was going to take his place.
Well, I certainly would think, too, that he's a guy that, he doesn't have to be coaching. He doesn't need any money.
Yeah.
So I would say that, in a way, I'm sure that, I don't know if he had to sell himself to Lincoln Riley, but I would imagine this thing went pretty quickly. Like, hey, we got an opening. You interested? Yeah, I'm interested.
What if so the Board of Regents are meeting right now. He's not on the agenda. It'll be in March. What if the Board of Regents come out and say, oh, yeah, no salary. He's paying us to coach here.
DeMarco say, well, good thing I haven't moved over yet.
Lincoln was like, how much can you contribute to the bag fund?
Yeah, we need to bring you in for cheating. What did you guys do at Bishop Gorman?
Well, that's funny, Josh, because like he was kind of wouldn't you say that he was kind of the start of Bishop Gorman and what they are now? Like Bishop Gorman then, he lost a 5th star because their level of competition was not considered. That was the Rivals analyst reasoning for it, which was obviously faulty because he definitely should have been a 5-star. But like Bishop Gorman was kind of in their infancy stages a little bit, weren't they?
Yeah, I mean, it was he and Ryan Reynolds. Those were the two that really got Gorman started. With Murray, though, I mean, Murray was just a bigger – Reynolds committed early. I think it was always pretty clear he was going to go to Oklahoma. Murray was such a battle between Oklahoma and USC. Yeah. I think it gave Gorman a lot of spotlight. Back when OU and USC were arguably the two best programs in the country going at that point in time. So that gave them a lot of clout and really kind of laid the groundwork for where they are now. Obviously, a lot of change since then in both those programs, or in that program, with all the coaching changes and things like that, because that was still David White era Gorman.
Right, yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, like I said, somebody asked me the other day, my favorite Murray story, and I think you guys are right. And I didn't know him. Obviously, I didn't cover him a lot in college, but when I knew him as a young guy, I would have never pegged him as a future coach kind of guy. And I don't mean that as he couldn't do it, anything like that. It just didn't seem like that's where his interest would lie. But what was interesting is the old story about Bob Stoops is walking around Gorman with White, and they're talking about DeMarco, and they're talking about offering and kind of making a decision. Well, they end up walking into the gym, and somebody's over in the background, and he just dunking left and right and doing all this crazy stuff.
And stuff.
Yeah, like it's just nuts. And Bob's like, "Who's that guy?" And he goes, and White's like, "That's DeMarco." And he's like, "Okay, enough said. Like, I don't need to see a whole lot else." He's got an offer,
yeah.
Exactly, yeah. And talking about his ranking, some of it was the competition. And Nevada has gotten better. There's 3 or 4 teams now that are pretty good in Nevada. But I will say, the big knock on him is he didn't have a great Army week, and I think that got weighed on him a little bit. And I know talking to some people, there was definitely some conversations that he was in a backfield with a lot of Texas running backs, and there was Texas coaches, and there was kind of a feeling that DeMarco kind of got pushed aside a little bit and kind of didn't get the opportunity to have a great week. But, that's 10, 12 years ago. I mean, who knows what actually happened.
I'm still bitter about it a little bit.
I know you
One of the questions that we got on the board was, well, will the hiring of Demarco get Oklahoma back into, obviously Bishop Gorman, maybe back into the West Coast even more. It's kind of interesting. I started looking at Bishop Gorman's last couple years. There just hasn't been a whole lot. I don't think it's necessarily a thing of Oklahoma not recruiting Bishop Gorman as much as they just haven't had a whole lot of top shelf guys.
Really, since that great year when they had Tate Martell,
the great
they
Tate.
haven't. Yeah, and I actually
Just say
heard,
Bubba Bolden.
Well, you had Bubba Bolden. You had the tight end kid that went to Miami. Whose name I'm going to blank out on. That team had 6 or 7 like elite, Division I type of guys. So I think it's starting to turn around. Actually, I saw a kid last year at the LA Rivals camp that was just going into his sophomore year. So he's a 2022 guy right now. Last name is Branch, and he's got a unique first name, and I'm forgetting what it is. But he and his younger brother, who's 2023, already have offers. They're getting a lot of early attention. I wouldn't be surprised if Oklahoma goes down that road in a couple years. Or I guess in the next year.
Have they lost some of the Fertitta support after his kids went through there, maybe?
Could be. And like I said, some of it too, though, is there are now some other options. It's not just Gorman or bust. If you want to get out of Las Vegas, there Zion Branch is the kid that I was talking about. His younger brother Zachariah.
Yeah.
Zion was like, I didn't know who he was, and Adam Friedman and I are just sitting there watching guys, and we're like, that dude is 6'1" and long and moves really well, looks like a really nice DB target. We walk up to him thinking he's some kind of under the radar LA's, DB, and he goes, "No, I'm a freshman at Bishop Gorman." We're like, okay, his name's going down. So, he's really a promising guy, and they've got a good 2022 group. They've got a running back already committed to Oregon. So, they're coming along. They'll be fine.
Well, it'll be interesting getting to talk to DeMarco as an OU coach for the first time. I don't know if that'll happen until the spring, or maybe they have, once the defensive hire is made,
right,
they go ahead and let us talk to, the new coaches that have come in, because sometimes that's been the case. That was the case, I remember, with Roy Manning and Benny Wiley when they were brought aboard. But now you switch over to the defensive side, and we're kind of left wondering exactly what this hire is going to be. There's, someone on the board today kind of pretty good, noticed pretty good that Roy Manning has started following a bunch of outside linebacker defensive end recruits, which might mean nothing. But at the same time, this was my thought on Roy. If you want to move Roy Manning into some type of a outside linebacker rush-in role, which he was an outside linebacker in college in the NFL, and he's been a cornerbacks coach. But, that position needs a dynamic recruiter, which Roy Manning is. To me, what's the harm? If some people were, for it, against it, I don't know any reason why you'd be against it. To have that guy recruiting, one of your most important positions on the team, I'd put my faith in Roy Manning as a recruiter.
He earned a lot of the equity this year with
correct, yes,
the way that he worked with the cornerback position and kind of the development
which is
that they
not
had.
his natural position.
No, it's not, which makes it even more impressive.
Bingo. That's why.
Yeah.
So I guess the corresponding move to that would be just you're going to hire Chip Viney to be the cornerbacks coach, correct?
And that goes back to kind of what I'm asking about Lincoln Riley. Is he going to be a guy that says, hey, we've got Chip Viney. He's a bright young coach. We could just put him in there. He'll recruit really well, and we'll develop from within. We don't need to go out and get some super flashy hire. There's a lot of people out there that can coach. Now, can you be a great recruiter, a position coach, handle all the demands, that you have to? I think Chip Viney would be great in that role as in terms of social media outreach, dealing with families. He was a UCLA guy. He's probably got plenty of good stories he can tell people. Obviously, he came back to Oklahoma when he already had a full coach, an assistant coaching position.
That's the thing that.
So you wonder also, are there some promises that have been made?
That's the thing that kind of keeps going. You keep coming back to is why would you have left a job at Nevada if you weren't somewhat promised hey, we'll take care of you at some point down the road, right, Bob?
Yeah, and if they don't do it this year, then it's never going to happen.
You would have to think about moving on.
Yep.
If I'm Chip Viney and you don't get the job,
you don't get the job.
You don't
I'm
do
leaving.
a third year of doing this when you've been a full-time coach before.
At some point, I mean, he has 2 little girls. You got to make more money than what I'm sure he's making now as a GA. So, or was it technically a?
Well,
he's a faculty
he's not
position.
A GA.
That's sure.
Yeah.
He's a faculty member.
Okay.
Essentially, QA, whatever you want to call it.
Quality control, QC, I guess.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is it will be a great opportunity for him just as far to see what he can do when he is out on the road. It's almost like this time period right now is a tryout almost.
Yeah.
Let's see how you work. And, that picture of him and Roy Manning out on the recruiting trail together, I would imagine that's a pretty good combo right there.
Yeah, I would think so.
Working high school kids.
Well, and think about this. Like, Josh, 2-3 years ago, people wanted him to be the cornerbacks coach at Oklahoma.
Oh, absolutely. He was the heir apparent. He was going to be the guy, and he was this. And the thing with Viney, to me, and I know that I always come at this from a very recruiting centric, perspective. I don't think there's any doubt the guy can recruit. I don't think any of us here would say he won't make your talent better if he is your primary recruiter and can go out and hit the road and see all these kids. He is young. He's energetic. He connects really well. When I talk to these guys, they love Viney. So there's plenty there that makes sense. I just think I think Oklahoma is going to immediately be back in that battle that they just got done fighting with Roy Manning. He doesn't have any experience. He's not like every other.
You're talking about when it comes to the Ohio States and
exactly.
People like that.
What are these other schools going to? You're giving these other schools ammunition, and I'm not saying that's fair or it's right. And he may do just like Manning does did and prove everybody wrong if Oklahoma goes in that direction. I'm just saying you're going to give those schools that ammunition where if you went out and got a proven corners coach or a proven secondary coach, maybe you could alleviate some of that.
What we don't know, though?
Interesting argument.
You know what we don't know? We don't know, behind the scenes, how much work did Chip Viney do with guys like Parnell Motley?
Sure.
That just got better this year. How much development did he do? How much mental work did he do behind the scenes that we don't know about?
I know for a fact. I mean, we've talked about it on the pod. We've put up video of it before. He's one of the first guys out there during on a game day, working with guys, and that's going all the way back to Zach Sanchez and that group. So a couple years ago, as far as guys before he even left to go to Nevada, was he was a guy that would work on technique and with those guys before games, and
you'd see him at summer camps and stuff their position, Kerry Cooks might have been standing to the side while he, put guys through drills, just kind of evaluating guys. They trusted him to run, all their stuff in camps.
He still did that last summer,
especially with the elite kids.
He still did it last summer. He was the one.
I was there while you were in the breastfeeding class. I remember.
I was at the other one too. I was at the first one.
You weren't there.
You weren't there.
I was there though.
You weren't at the first one though,
because you didn't have an all-day breastfeeding class with that
didn't do anything. Did nothing at all.
Josh could have told you didn't need to go to that class.
My wife really wanted to go, and it sucked. It hasn't paid off at all.
Josh tried to tell you that you didn't need that class. He attempted to make that case.
Brock Vandegrift probably still be a Sooner if you went.
If I'd went. Yeah.
Hey, Bob, you can't tell nothing to a first-time mama, man. They got ideas. If you guys go through it a second time around, she's going to be like, we ain't doing any of that shit. That was dumb. I don't need to do any of that. So, Tiffany, I'm like, we have a second child. She's over there. You got to remind them the second time around. Yes, I'm claiming Tiffany McCuistion's a negligent mother. Just a heads up.
Yep.
Well, you weren't feeding the second one, weren't you?
Did you have the moob?
Yeah, we took her in, and the doc's like, she hasn't gained weight in 18 months, guys. You probably should get on this. And we're like, all right. So we just started feeding her French fries. It's totally fine.
Better than what you give Linda with the salt water.
Yep. Let's trace Linda's to you. All right. So, yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting. I mean, there's really been, I don't know, guys. I mean, I haven't really heard any rumblings on any other names that have been out there. There's no reasons really to feel like this guy is trending in a positive direction from my perspective. I don't know if you guys feel that
Here's
way.
the thing is, we're almost at the beginning of February. I don't think that, and I get that it's probably a little different for Oklahoma in that they go offer a job to a coach. He's probably going to leave whatever school he's at, if he's interested in it. But you're almost kind of paying yourself into a corner as far as, are there a whole lot of guys, I don't want to say interested in the job, but it's just late in the process, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Here's one thing they don't have to worry about this year, and something we've kind of talked about. From February 3rd through the 29th is a dead period. So if you don't get them this week for Junior Day, you have the whole month where you don't have to worry about coaches being on the road and trying to get in touch with them. You're going to have a legitimate shot to get whoever you feel fits best because there's nothing else those coaches can be doing during the next month.
It's a good point. Didn't even think about it.
So, yeah, I mean, like we said, we'll keep tracking it. If he hires somebody tomorrow,
he'll probably hire somebody in like 3 hours.
Pissed off.
It doesn't seem like there's any hurry for this hire.
Maybe as much what Bob said.
Maybe as much as as you wanted to get somebody like DeMarco in place. So,
well, Josh,
especially if you're not going to make any corresponding moves, I don't know.
Josh, you're looking at Junior Day. Is there any reason to be worried if they don't have that coach locked in by Saturday?
No, everybody, I had a bunch of questions about this yesterday in the board chat. Like, is this hire going to make or break Oklahoma football? Like the defense and the progression. I'm like, why would anyone think that? Like, this is one spot on the field. Almost at worst, what we're talking about, it's two.
And you've gotten rid of Ruffin, which we've been, we all were in agreement needed to happen. You've gotten better.
Every move that Lincoln Riley's made over the last 2 weeks is one that people have been clamoring for.
You have Chip Viney out on the recruiting trail, which, you couldn't have had that. I mean, you had Zach Hansen, I know, for a while, but like now you have 10 coaches, 9, whatever. Was it 7 or 8 that can be out at one time?
I think it's 7? 8. Is it 7? Yeah. It might be 7. 7 does sound.
I don't know if it
that.
changed when it went to the 10th assistant. Is the only reason I threw that there. But I mean, you only had so many guys that could be out there. Now you have people that are capable. Like
Viney and Manning next to each other, going to Collins.
Yeah, if you took someone off the road, you couldn't put Ruffin on the road. So now you can put Chip Viney on the road. You take him off. You can put Roy Manning on the road, or they can be there together. I mean, it's like they've gotten better. Like if you're stressed about who this hire is going to be, like it might make. I don't understand that. I'm with you, Josh.
Yeah, and again, I mean, to me, this is one of those positions. It's a lot like running back, where I think you need to hit a recruiter. There needs to be a good recruiter in that role, because in practice they're working with one player or one starting position. There's just not enough to say like it. Everybody keeps kind of bringing up Craig Kuligowski, and I get it. I mean, the guy's a tremendous coach. There's a lot of talk that he does not have a lot of interest in recruiting. He's older than anybody else Lincoln Riley has hired. That one just doesn't add up a lot to me, other than the connection to Alex Grinch. But what I will say, if it was the defensive line, I could kind of get it. Like you're coaching 3 guys. He's clearly an outstanding teacher of technique and develops a lot of guys that maybe everybody wasn't buying in on. But he's never been thought of as a great recruiter. I don't know how a guy that's just coaching one player, I don't know that you can make enough impact with one guy on the field to say, oh, he's a great coach. It doesn't matter that he can't help us that much in recruiting. The scales don't work for me on that.
And maybe that would be different if he were at Georgia or Alabama, which he was. I mean, when that talent is right there and you're usually going to get it, Oklahoma, every kid that you get is like, I mean, it's gold. I mean, you don't have that many opportunities to get a really good kid. So if you don't have someone that has that much interest in recruiting, in this part of the country, you're screwed.
Yep. You're right.
You think about that position. It was Nick Bonito that they had to they had to fight off Texas for going into the Under Armour game. David Agwebu, who they had to sell. Don't sign during the early period. We don't have a coordinator. Don't look at the Aggies. Just give us time, and then you get Grinch, and that's his first recruit. I mean, these have not been easy pickups. They had to work real hard to get the two guys that right now look like going to be the cornerstone of that position.
Yeah. Let me remind you guys, the podcast Unofficial 40 title sponsor is Midfirst Bank. Want to remind you guys, the Midfirst Rewards card out there for you. You can apply for it now if you go to midfirst.com/U40. That's midfirst.com/U40. They've set up a special page for you guys that listen to the Unofficial 40 podcast. Just click the apply now. You can apply today for the OU Rewards credit card. You can redeem your rewards for cash back, gift cards, merchandise, travel. Also, right now, if you go into participating banking centers, you can receive a free Bluetooth speaker just for applying. You can redeem those rewards also for fan gear and the OU Student Bursar account to pay for tuition. So 0% APR for the first 12 months on that card as well. And it's got the big OU logo, Crimson and Cream credit card for you to carry around to show everybody your support of the Sooners as you pay for stuff around town. So midfirst.com/U40. That's midfirst.com/U40. Thanks to Midfirst Bank for being our title sponsor of the Unofficial 40 podcast.
That way, if the bar keeps your card and you leave, because nobody ever tabs out anymore, they'll know whose card it is. Besides having the name on it, they'll be like,
nobody tabs out anymore?
It's that guy's name. I don't think so. I can't remember the last time I tabbed out of a bar.
It's kind of like checking out of a hotel. You just leave.
Yeah. They know you're gone.
Sometimes your clothes are in there.
They know you're leaving. Tip whatever. Oh, well.
You're not getting a company card anytime soon.
That's that. Yes.
I mean,
we
obviously,
that
some places you have to tap out, but most bars, they give you your card back anyway, so I guess it kind of defeats the purpose. But
they keep your tab open.
Right, until at the end of the night, and then they give you like 30%.
If you have a dickhead friend that's like, oh, yeah, Eddie Radosevich.
I suppose people could do that.
Have you ever done that?
Maybe. 747 a couple times, but that was a long time ago. I've changed since then.
Now you got the BDE.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I guess people are just going to go around the Jones Assembly now just saying, yeah, Radosevich, seeing if they're going to put a drink on my tab. You're welcome if you can.
Steal your Lime scooter while they're at it.
That's happened before. Wouldn't be surprised.
They found a lot of they stopped counting at 20 when they cleaned out the Bricktown Canal with Lime scooters.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I bet. I was wondering how many there was going to be in there.
Didn't we already lose Bird or something?
Yeah, I believe so. I believe we're a Lime town right now.
Until they pull out.
God, what savages.
How would you handle living life if Lime Scooter pulled out of Oklahoma City? It would
probably the same way that I do now. I don't take it as much anymore.
Really?
I had a couple buddies that got into wrecks. Just kind of
car wrecks,
like
or
they got hit.
No, just like being drunk and on them, and
okay.
And it's cold as
road
outside,
rash.
So
and
yeah.
Stuff. Okay, so there is a big weekend coming up. Josh, you have teased it out there that I've seen the word 5-star. It sounds like the Sooners making some big inroads heading into a big visit weekend.
Yeah, and I think this is kind of, and I know a lot of people are going to be like, well, it's not a big list right now. We've got, let me think, 6, 9. We got 12 confirmed guys expected in. 11 of the 12 have an offer. The other one is Christian Driver, the 2022 son of Donald Driver.
Easy, Bob.
I'm gonna get
not allowed on campus.
Yeah, I'm gonna guess
legend.
That gets changed.
Yeah,
we're gonna have
Bobby's
Bob
wearing
do that interview.
Bears clothing today in support of or anti-driver paraphernalia.
Bob's going to do the interview, and the kid's going to immediately commit to Texas.
Bob is like pumping his arm like anyone out there gives a shit. Like you're doing something right now, like that you're going to get credit for. Like somehow bearscoop.com is going to link to this. And
Bear Scoop is Kersey and Josh's site. You got to think of something.
That's our noble high school football site. when Lincoln takes over.
Bearscoop.com.
When will they beat Cole Albert? We'll wait and see.
No, it looks like a huge weekend. You mentioned a couple 5-stars. Bryce Foster had let me know a couple of weeks ago that he was going to come. He is still on the books. He's the Katie Taylor offensive lineman, just an absolute monster.
You just gotta laugh when you think about that kid.
he just.
I mean, has there ever been a more?
He literally looks like he just stumbled out of the woods.
I love
has
that
a
kid.
lot of
like.
Paul
I would
Bunyan's
think
to
Bill
him.
Beatenbow would kill a man
Oh,
to have a Bryce Foster.
absolutely.
Literally
Yep.
strangle a man.
We always joke around like that guy's my spirit. Like Bryce Foster is Bill Beatenbow's spirit animal. Like he is the embodiment of what he wants an offensive lineman to be. We've got him listed at 6'4", 295. There's no way that kid's under 320 since the last time I saw him. He's got the thing that always catches me about Foster, and we'll get back to the list in a second, is just his calves look like they swallowed a softball. Like they are enormous. And I'm a big bodied, like I've got big legs, but he makes me look like a little kid. He's just huge all around.
I think Josh looks at Bryce Foster kind of like whatever, sci-fi comic anime you follow where the hero becomes like gets his superpowers, whether it's you got some noise going on. It's weird.
What do you think's happening in the background?
Oh my
here,
God!
guys?
It's Trace Linda's.
No, it's not Linda. Good God,
It's Roomba.
Linda is Tuesday.
The
That is a
Roomba is on the loose.
Talk amongst yourselves so I don't destroy the podcast. Hang on.
Maria.
Oh God, I really want to
Maria.
see if I can get some English to Spanish text to speech going.
Speaking of Junior Day, me and Eddie will give you as many updates as we can because it is Saturday, which is also Bedlam basketball, and usually the coaches will bring those kids down, or at least for like the first half or so.
Yeah, that's usually a kind of a. In past years, I remember this has always been like a basketball game.
Yes.
That they bring them in
Yep.
for, and it kind of breaks up the day. I think it breaks up the monotony of just being over at the facility. So you usually see, I would imagine it's going to be your regular cast of characters. I would imagine Creed Humphrey spends a lot of time with Bryce Foster. They usually pair those guys up, it
Yep.
seems like. Even if
Can
it's
you
not
tell
a-
Linda to stop creating?
Sorry,
Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
that didn't work like I thought. I wanted it. It's just a Spanish guy reading English, asking Linda to stop.
Can you tell Linda to stop cleaning?
I like how he adds it to a stop cleaning.
Kind of sounds like an alien. Hey-o. I think somebody will get that out
Now I
there.
have to translate that to Spanish.
You got that, Josh, didn't you?
A little. Yeah, that's not Eddie.
I mean, it does sound like it sounds like an alien from outer space, not an illegal alien for clearance.
I'm just saying, Eddie, if you jeopardize Linda cleaning Tiffany's house, Tiffany will show up at your doorstep.
I would never.
She loves that woman. Maybe
I
more
would
than her
never.
second child.
I would never.
I'm just saying, beware. That woman is.
¿Puedes decirle a Linda que deje de limpiar?
There.
We have gone off the rails.
On the heels of the Iowa caucus.
That was English translated to Spanish, read by an alien.
You know what this segment has been? Something that'll be fast forwarded by about 90% of the
It's
listening
not
fan
true.
base
They
out
love
there.
this.
¿Puedes
They will
decirle
not
a Linda
listen.
que deje de limpiar?
I would fast forward. I want to fast forward through it right now.
They do love when we start talking recruiting, and then you guys take us far afield.
Oh man, I'm sorry, Big Crimson TX.
Yeah, I think Crimson TX is going to lose his shit in this segment. So,
Okay, so
let's get us- yeah.
did you guys get your basketball stuff out while Josh was doing it?
No,
or no?
we are going to
well-
circle back and actually
Okay.
talk about
Yeah,
basketball.
what
when
we were
get-
saying
come back.
is
Bryce
Junior Day
Foster, your
kids
spirit animal.
will be at Bedlam.
Okay.
Basketball.
Bryce Foster's your spirit animal. If you gained superpowers and turned into someone else, it would be Bryce Foster.
yes. If I could be someone, I'd be Bryce Foster. No, the other one that's really interesting, and largely because he is a 5-star, is Savion Byrd, the offensive tackle from Duncanville, a guy that OU offered very early. I've always heard that the contact between he and Bill Bedenbaugh was really good, but I had never really heard the kid himself express a lot of interest. Like, I'm going to go up there, I'm going to visit. I hit him up really not expecting to hear back, and he got with me last night and let me know, hey, yeah, I'm going to be there. That's the plan. That's a big deal for Oklahoma because this is not one of those guys like Bryce Foster that goes everywhere and he's almost always somewhere, taking trips, seeing campuses. Bird doesn't go to a lot of places. So for Oklahoma to get this trip, and if he does make it, that's a big win for OU. He'll also be up there with Kendrick Blackshire, his Duncanville teammate, who Oklahoma is recruiting at linebacker. So, that kind of helps him with Blackshire having been there 3, 4, 5 times. It probably, ups the comfort level a little bit, kind of cuts that from being, any awkwardness about not knowing where to go and those kind of things. Kendrick knows what he's doing. So that should help that. And, when you throw in there's 2 other offensive line offers, Trey Zunn, Rivals 250 kid from Fort Collins in Colorado. He's making, I believe, his second trip to Oklahoma. He came for the offensive line, defensive line camp. Him versus Downs was the best matchup of the entire day. That's right. That was really the only matchup worth watching, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
From some of the breakdowns. Clayton Smith will be there, outside linebacker from Texas High that is apparently, from what he says to me, talking to Lincoln Riley once or twice a week. This is clearly a guy Oklahoma is putting some real effort into. Then you get into 2022 where, I know everybody is like, oh, that's so far away, but that's recruiting right now. I mean, the 2021 class, it's not that it's done or worked, anything like that. There's still a lot of ways to go there, but you have to get started with these guys now to be in the right position this time next year when they are the rising seniors in the group. So you've got guys like Justin Medlock from Manville, Texas, a guy I love on tape at linebacker. Going to be his first trip to Oklahoma, so that'll be a big thing for Oklahoma. I mentioned Christian Driver from Liberty Christian in Argyle, same school that produced Ben Habern, forever and a day ago. So you've got Devin Campbell, the offensive lineman from Arlington Bowie, who I saw this season go against the wide receiver. I'm blanking on his name, Bob. Signee.
West?
Trayvon West. God, I just couldn't get there. And then Emeka Megwa, the closest thing I can think of to Samaje Perine in Texas high school football in a while. Emeka Megwa is a 2022 guy just finishing his sophomore year and looks like a third-year college running back right now. He is physically just out of this world. And maybe the most interesting in the 2022 class is Alex Orji, a quarterback from Dallas Bishop Dunn. His 2 older brothers went to Vanderbilt, were good athletes as well, out of Rockwall. Oklahoma recruited both of them. Never really seemed like they really made a run at either one of those guys. But with Orji playing quarterback, like I said, class of 2022, we're not really sure who was going to be Lincoln Riley's guy in that group. This is a guy to keep an eye on. And this is kind of an interesting visit. Yeah.
I think I remember his brother.
For everybody.
Yeah, he's had 2 of them.
Yeah. I remember one of them, at least.
Alfred and Alston, I think.
I think Alston's the one that I remember.
Alston and Anthony, right?
Anthony, you're right. You're right. Yeah, Alston was a Rivals 100 linebacker. He was a really good player.
Do you think Orji will end up being a quarterback? That seemed like a family that just keeps growing. Like those guys kept growing out of their projected positions as they got older.
Yeah, because, I know we talked about, I believe that you were right that it's Anthony Orji. Anthony really wanted to be a safety, and you just kept watching, and he just got bigger and bigger, and you're like, dude, there's no way. Now he is apparently still a safety at Vanderbilt at 6'2", 222. These are big, sturdy guys. I won't say that I've watched enough of Alex to kind of know which direction that's going to go yet, but I do know it's in the conversation. Like, I don't think he's a guy that automatically won't work there, but he's got a lot of developing to do. I'm also interested to see if he stays at Bishop Dunn in Dallas. That was a school for a while that was producing a lot of guys, and now you're starting to see some other schools kind of rise, and Dunn's kind of falling off a little bit. I want to see, and because, if he does move schools, what does that mean? Does he go somewhere that already has a quarterback? There's going to be a lot kind of that you have to watch and see how that plays out.
¿Cuánto estás dispuesto a pagar para conseguir algunos de estos reclutas?
Unbelievable.
Recruit us?
If you can translate this, yeah, you got part of that right. If you can translate that, I'll give you a free month of Scoop. If you just email me.
Nice, a challenge.
If you can email me at cmurdoch@SoonerScoop.com. There you go. I don't know.
I think you should email Carrie anyways and just tell him what you think. You don't even have to get it right.
I had some of that this week already. Probably because Josh gave someone my email address.
Yeah, as many people as possible.
Mm-hmm.
All your private ones.
This is the complaint department, I believe, is what he was saying after Sunday's meltdown. Go see him.
Talk to Carrie.
I just want to say, I banned one person, okay? One. Don't make me have to be Bandmaster J. One person. And we're talking.
I think there'd be a revolt if you just started banning everybody.
I don't know.
Well, technically there wouldn't be.
There used to be a... Yeah, that's true. That's true. Everybody be gone.
So anyway.
Pledges are pissed. Members are
Yeah. Okay, so you guys had some basketball that you wanted to get to. And I want you to get to it.
We got Kansas State tonight, so by the time you guys listen, that game is probably going to be over. And it'll be there. It's true. It's on at 7 o'clock tonight, so but you get
and
around
the
to
bad
it.
thing is Kansas State seems so bad. So if
And it's ESPN Plus on the
it
road.
seems like everything is on ESPN
This is
Plus now.
OU's last game on ESPN Plus, but it's the only one that's on the road. They were at home the other two times. So I imagine around 6 to 7, there's going to be some people wondering where the heck can they watch their Sooners. But
direct them all to you.
There you all right. Yeah. You look at Kansas State; they've been struggling. I think they're 8-11 now, like 1-6 in conference.
That was actually
play.
a tough win, kind of, for Oklahoma early in the conference.
It was.
Season.
They needed the huge run. I mean, that's because they, for some reason, have trouble shooting at Lloyd Noble. Maybe they can shoot better in Manhattan, but I mean, it's got to be Reeves, Doolittle. Those guys have got to shoot better.
Bramlage.
Is it still Bramlage?
It used to be Bramlage.
It definitely used to be.
They changed the name?
I don't know.
Well, it's got a different place. It's by the football stadium now.
Yeah.
Is that not Bramlage? I thought that's always been Bramlage.
I don't know if they changed
I think
the
they just redid it. They just renovated it.
No, Bramlage is still up. It's on campus. You can walk by it.
Is that not what's connected to the football stadium?
No. Or I don't know if Bramlage, they're old. I'm saying they're old. Like the one that Lon Kruger played in, that's still around.
Right.
It's like their field house.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, Doolittle.
Yeah, it's called Bramlage Coliseum.
Doolittle didn't score in the second half. Reeves has had trouble ever since conference play has started.
You guys, I mean, have you given up the presidency yet?
Well, at least Austin was cool enough to talk about it Monday, and
He got to get some
just
shots
struggles.
Yeah, I mean, he's still.
I mean, he's not a bad shooter.
He's not
of
a bad
basketball. He's just not making
I
baskets.
know. My God, you don't have to get so defensive about him.
You're just shitting on the guy like he's terrible or something.
I'm not saying he's terrible. I'm just saying
he's not a bad shooter.
He just has been during the last couple weeks.
It's consistently.
Brady Manick has kind of carried this team during the last couple games. He's going to need help because it's going to be a day where Manick isn't bringing it, and you're not going to count on Alonnis Williams to come off the bench and be a spark plug every single game. So Doolittle, Reeves, they got to bring it. I believe, is 8 points away from joining the 1,000-point club. This is a game where they usually don't win. They don't win in Manhattan since Kruger has been there. But
you got to go 2-0 this week.
You've got to go 2-0.
You don't go 2-0, you're not. All of a sudden, you're starting to play from behind to get into the NCAA tournament.
If you're 15-6, 5-3 heading into next week, that's not bad.
You can work with that.
Yes,
you can work with that for sure.
Especially in a. I was surprised Tennessee lost to Texas A&M the other day. Like that puts them.
Well, college basketball is just if you go out and shoot the ball as poorly as like an Oklahoma State is, you're just not going to win games. You're not going to win games right now. And what was it, like the 15th top 5 team to get beat last night with Florida State getting beat by, and I guess it's technically an upset because they got beat by Virginia, but because Virginia's unranked right now. But I would say that like college basketball is in a funk, or I don't know what you want to call it. It's just weird right now Anybody can literally beat anybody on any given night.
Yep.
I was trying to figure out what happened at Duke last night. Did Jeff Capel block everyone that was a student at Duke or something? Why were they mad at him?
I don't think they were. I think
No.
Coach K was being an olds.
Yeah, it was
That was fantastic.
Cameron Crazies were going at Capel, and Coach K, he's like, he's one of us. You can't do that.
Yeah.
They should have said, "Sit down, K, cheater."
And just hope we don't report your bag men.
Yeah, I mean, what a snake. I'm not much of a Coach
Did you see
K
his,
guy.
his post-game stuff?
No.
Yeah,
it
talking
was
about what he would prefer them to
so
do.
awesome. It was so peak olds.
He's a snake.
Well, I don't care because Jeff Capel blocked me, so.
Oh, I endorsed the Duke student section this morning.
Did you? Mm-hmm. No problems with it. So yeah, camps are coming up toward the end of next month, so we're gonna have a lot more there and be pulling back out the live equipment for all that stuff. So it should be really cool, and I think we'll be in several different locations for camps. I mean, more than just Dallas. So that's going to be something to look forward to. And then of course we don't have dates yet on spring football. Usually you can pretty much bet that first week of March. Halfway through that first week, whatever is when
Second week of April
Yeah.
should be the spring game. That's
Masters
how the way it's always
spring
been.
game. Piss Eddie off as
That's
usual.
just stupid. It's
No,
inconsiderate.
Well, last year they had to move it up to
That's
Friday
why-
because of the weather.
That's why
so Eddie flew
I'm
back
hoping,
early from the Masters.
hoping we get Riley next Wednesday, even if there's not much to add to 2020, to at least see is there any
They should do it
idea
again.
of putting it at
They
night.
should do it again. That was great.
I thought and I'm not just saying this because I was able to watch the Masters on Saturday. I thought it was a very well run operation doing
Yeah.
it on a Friday night like that.
and the way they had to move it up like that and get
Yeah.
everybody involved, they
Yeah.
did a great job with it.
Got to book a No Name Country Act here pretty soon, I'm sure. So maybe we'll get some news on that.
Who was it last year?
It was the ponytail
it
guy
that
was
Lee
2
Bryce?
years ago.
Lee-
Lee Bryce was 2 years ago, right?
No,
Was that Lee? Was that
No,
last
because
year?
Trace was
there's
two.
only been two
only
concerts.
been
Oh,
so
so it
far.
was Lee Bryce and then so Lee Bryce last year and then
Yeah.
Trace Atkins the year before.
Speaking of which, Josh, this is the last pod before signing day. You see anything going on with 2020 besides Alfred Collins is kind of hoping?
How insane is this that we're like literally a week from today is signing day and we're at the fairy tale and we're like, oh yeah, we better talk about that. No,
Kind of says everything about the state of recruiting, doesn't it?
Yeah,
not a
it is.
negative thing. It's just such an afterthought nowadays.
Yeah, the second signing day is just kind of cleaning up what, we didn't get this guy that we hoped we'd get, in December. Okay, we've got this guy we kind of like. We'll take him and make him fill a spot. But that's kind of where it's at. Oklahoma, everybody's like, oh, well, why aren't they signing all these guys? Why hasn't all this happened? They don't see any need to just take anybody. I think they feel like 2021 has a chance to be a really good class, and so they're not going to take some 3-star guy just to fill a hole when maybe next year they can get the elite guy that they want. Because, is the 3-star guy in 2020 really going to come in and change the whole face of the offense or defense? No, that's not going to happen. So they're not going to reach and just take guys and then have to kind of carry that scholarship when it could have gone to a better player next year. And that's what I think the aim is. That's what they're thinking. Now, Alfred Collins, they want him. We'll take him. Lincoln Riley and Calvin Thibodeau made their last run for him last night. They went down, visited him, visited his family, went to Alfred's basketball game last night. So Oklahoma has thrown their last punch with Alfred Collins. I don't think it's going to end up being enough. I think he's going to end up at Texas. But there is not, I know a lot of people are like, well, it's done. That's not what I'm told. I don't think he's told Texas anything. I don't think there's any reason to think in his mind, it's just set and it's done. But at the same time, I think at the end of the day, it's going to end up being Texas. But Oklahoma has made this a real race, which is insane considering he's from the Austin area and his mother played at Texas. There is so much connection for him and UT. And for him to be, this far down the road, like I said, it says a lot for Oklahoma and the work they put in.
Josh, that's just sort of the way it worked out. You had Dre Butler being a kid from Georgia, picking Auburn, just two guys that no matter what OU could have done, it just might not have mattered.
Yeah, I think that's, I think a lot of people that don't follow recruiting that closely don't realize Auburn is like probably the second choice for a lot of kids in Georgia because it's so stinking close. I mean, Auburn is just right there on the border. From Dre's house, it's like a 2-hour drive. It's shorter for, than a kid from Dallas going to the University of Oklahoma. Like, I mean, it's that connected. So it's just something that I think Oklahoma was always going to struggle with. I thought if he didn't come out of the OU visit saying OU is my clear leader, kind of being that gung-ho about it, it was going to be tough, and that's what we saw happen. He went to Auburn, committed right before he left, and that was all she wrote.
So you're saying that you don't think Lincoln Riley painting his chest at Alfred Collins' game last night is going to matter much?
No. Now, I did hear that Alfred was a little upset that there was no foam finger, but with that exception, no. I mean, I really didn't hear that was going to be a big thing to swing Alfred in either direction.
By the way, Eddie is very much looking forward to the next TikTok that will be coming out this weekend during the recruiting extravaganza.
I relapsed yesterday, 9:30 to 2:30, just straight up, all up in TikTok.
9:30 to 2:30.
Relapsed.
Falling in love with like 17-year-olds. It was incredible.
Ooh.
What?
Huh?
Right? out of context.
There are sentences I'm really glad I didn't come out of my mouth for a change. So
I can say it. What? No, I can't. No, you can't.
No, you can't. All right. Any other business order that you want to get to before we get out of here? I think we've run out of.
I don't think so.
We've run out of topics.
I think we're good
for the week. All right.
I've probably cried more this week than I have in a long time, just with the Kobe Bryant stuff. That was
I had
shocking.
to just get away. I mean,
I know that we don't want to spend a whole lot of time talking about it, but it is probably it is the biggest death, I think, that somebody that I don't know, or the most shocking death of my lifetime. Without a doubt, 100%.
Maybe I connect the two because they're both sports, but it's the one that sticks out to me the most since probably like Walter Payton. Like Walter Payton was a big deal.
See,
I remember like
there's been a lot of people that
you
said
were
that, and I just don't remember it. I don't remember that happening.
And somebody asked me, like, do you ever remember a death where people just flooded to an area, like they have the Staples Center? And I do remember, like, Kurt Cobain was kind of like that when he killed himself.
Yeah.
That was probably the only thing I can even think that
Princess
even compared.
died.
Prince died in.
I remember
everybody was really
Princess
shocked.
Diana.
Princess died.
Yeah.
I remember that happening, but I don't think that at the time I remember the significance of it. As far like I remember watching
how
on
shocking
TV,
it was,
and I remember how upset my parents were at the time, but it didn't really register with me at all.
I'm
with you, Eddie. I remember my mom being jarred by
Right.
Yeah, I just don't. I was just like, they're royal, they're British. Like it.
Well,
just
so it's
doesn't-
more like us just growing up,
like
being older.
I think it's all those people with Princess Di. It's all those people that that kind of became the start of reality TV a little bit with her marriage and the wedding and all that. Like I remember how big a deal that wedding was, but it didn't interest me. I was like, I wasn't into it. But I know there were a lot of women all around the world that probably loved that.
Yeah.
It was probably one of the most significant moments, socially in history for them. But it wasn't for dudes. I mean,
who would have known that 25 years later that Meghan Markle would try and do the same thing? She'd just try and kill the entire royal family, though.
I'm here for it.
I love it.
Eddie, Bob, it's been a while since I've been in Carrie's house. Does he still have that vision board of his wedding up on the wall in the living room?
I don't think so. I think that's down, but I think that's behind the bookcase that you have to move by lifting the third book to the left.
To get to my treasure trove of romantic
novels,
yeah.
It's where you
My
keep
Harlequins.
your Danielle Steele collection.
Oh my God.
Nice. Well, the thing with Kobe, Staples can't hold it. They're talking about Coliseum being where his memorial is
crazy.
gonna have to be. You can't. 20,000 is not going to be enough.
No.
I thought that thing on TNT last night was really good. The hour. I didn't watch all of it.
How about Shaq saying they haven't talked in 4 years?
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's
truly,
really
it's
bury the
truly
hatchet.
crazy.
I really did get, to the point where I just couldn't do it anymore. I couldn't
No, it can definitely suffocate you in a way.
Like Sunday, I kind of got a break from it because all the Demarco stuff. But then I caught up with it, and it's just like, I was, the only thing that I was really interested in was the journalism part of it, just because that was such a disaster and so embarrassing and such a mess.
TMZ looked good.
TMZ, I mean,
they're the only ones that really look good
with that
through
stuff.
it.
They're trustworthy. I mean, and being that it's in LA and stuff, you expect them to but
what did you think about the way that people came down on TMZ? Like the
sheriff
the Los
was
Angeles
ridiculous.
sheriff.
That was stupid.
It wasn't going to be TMZ. It was going to be anybody that broke that. I mean,
probably so.
They weren't questioning whether his 4 daughters were there, like that one ABC person.
Yeah, he should have come down on the Rick Fox report.
Rick Fox,
the 4 daughters on board, and then the woman in Little Rock or
with
whatever.
With the ABC thing, I think I don't think he even realized what he said. Yeah. And it was just like, that can't happen.
Because he didn't have a lot of details, and he was just filling time.
He was on his way out.
Mistakenly said something.
I think he was driving out to the scene or whatever, and it just, he was trying to, I think, give a report as he was doing some other things, and obviously you can't do that.
I did see some of the stuff on TNT, and it was probably why I just turned it off. I was like, I shouldn't watch this. But the thing about, Derek Fisher talking about when he saw where the plane went down, it was 3 exits from his house.
Really?
And
I didn't see that.
He knew exactly where Kobe was going once they reported where it was. And he knew that his daughter or his family could be in it because they were going to a basketball deal. And he said that floored him. And then he talked about the report about Rick Fox that was out there, and then his mom is calling him freaking out, and he's freaking out, and like he's sitting there almost crying to Rick Fox, and Rick Fox then kind of started talking about how hectic it was for him when his name got thrown out there. And
I'm sure.
So random. Like, Rick Fox? Why?
No, it's like
the whole thing.
I mean,
Sunday just was surreal.
Yeah, it was. Can you imagine, though? I mean, people have talked about, like, can you imagine being Kobe's family, finding out on social media? And God, yeah, awful. That's not the way you'd want to learn about. I mean, you'd never want to learn it, but no way that way. But can you imagine being Rick Fox's family and, like, thinking he's dead? Yeah. And then, like, don't get me wrong, it's better that he's not, but I can't imagine that roller coaster, like, what that had to be like.
I would just say, like, once you found out his daughter was on board, it totally changed from being a sports tragedy, just kind of an overall tragedy. You feel horrible for
the Alto Belly guy
and
was,
the other kids. And
I that's not a name that I knew just off the top of my head, but very well known in the baseball world, in the JUCO baseball world especially. His connections back into Houston. I think he was David Pierce's roommate at Houston, so it was just the whole thing. It's tragic.
And can I say, and I feel confident I can speak for Bob on this, stop sending me the video of that anchor on ESPN talking about, I can't do it. Like, that's too much. Nope.
Just when you think you're done, there was the sick child Facebook post thing that got shared. And then it was the girl dad. Like, just when you think, okay, I'm starting.
And see, for me, the girl dad thing was kind of therapeutic. Like, I love seeing it. I love seeing the picture of Josh at Home Depot. I loved everybody tweeting out, their hashtag girl dad stuff. That was really sweet and cute and endearing, and it made me feel better seeing that stuff.
Guys, I want to turn the topic a little bit to something I can get angry about. So that'll just
awesome
shield
job,
my feeling.
Josh.
Yeah. So just because the girl dad thing, like that cuts really close to home, and like I love to talk about my daughters driving me crazy, but it's clear to anybody I'm nuts about those two. But what I will say, I had someone, and he's a Rivals employee. I'm not going to name him, but he was like, who the hell would put the picture of their daughters up there? That's so stupid on this shithole Twitter, blah, blah. What is the danger of me putting up a picture of my daughters? Like,
now people are going to come and steal them and kidnap them.
Yeah, like, are they not aware when they see me in my truck with the 2 girls in the car seats that those are probably my children? Like, what are you talking about? It was the weirdest attempt to cancel something I had seen yet. That was just crazy town to me.
It's odd.
Yeah, it's a little weird. All right. That'll do it. I think it's good for us to kind of get our thoughts out there with all the Kobe stuff. So it's going to take some time for things to get back to normal, I think, in the NBA and just in the sports world. So last thing I'll say about that, only thing that was weirder of a day. And I know you guys, I don't even know how old you were, but the OJ chase. I mean, I still remember that like yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
Yep.
I remember watching that in class. Like my teacher pulled in.
Wait, what? You were in school in the middle of June.
No, I'm sorry.
He was
no,
stupid.
It was the trial.
He was in summer school.
Stupid.
It was the trial. It was when the verdict came in. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
absolutely right. Yeah, it was the
Well,
verdict.
that and
My
the
bad.
space shuttle explosion. That was the only other thing.
That's what
really,
I'm too young for.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember that.
All right. So thanks to everybody. Thanks to Josh, Eddie, Bob, and big recruiting weekend coming up. Also, that defensive hire still yet to come. We'll see exactly what happens. Lincoln, just give it a little time. Maybe 48 hours breathing time. Maybe that'll be good. So thanks.
By the way, I added 2 new names since this podcast
wow.
started to the list. So, yeah, it keeps growing. So, keep checking back.
All right. Sounds good. Thanks to Midfirst Bank for being our title sponsor, midfirst.com/U40. Make it over to the website. Apply for that OU Rewards credit card. So until next time, you've been listening to the Unofficial 40 on SoonerScoop.com.